Okay. So, let me snake my phone down here because I need you guys to kind of help me see. I have, there we go. So I have the socket on the bolt. I've been trying to turn it the last, here a little bit. I'm genuinely thinking about removing my charcoal canister temporarily. Just so I can get a little bit better view down here, because otherwise I can't see nothing. I'm pretty sure I just have 2 bell housing bolts left, and then I can start jimmying the whole thing loose and, rocking it back and forth to loosen it up. Absolutely no idea how I'm going to get down in here because I can't see anything there. But I'll show you what I'm doing, and then I'll put the deep creep on the bolt, and we'll worry about that with you guys. So the extension is actually right up above this plate here. You probably can't see it, but it is up there. There it is. So I got the extension ran all the way back. It is there. I'm struggling, man. This is not, this is my first time ever doing a clutch in a car. I wouldn't say don't try this if you don't have someone to help you, but if you don't have someone to help you, plan on this taking double as long as what you think it's going to take. Because having to, and granted, I've been able to figure things out along the way, so it's going to make this car going back together a lot easier. However, going this route now and not having a set of eyes to relay to me up here is going to hurt me in the long run when I go to put the damn thing back together. But we'll worry about that bridge when we go to cross it. And for right now, this is where we're at. Okay, just want to give you guys a very quick update. So, get my phone flipped here. One-handed kind of sucks. So, real quick, I need to preface this. I got the top 2 transmission bolts completely out. I got them out. The transmission's loose. It's now, from the last clip you saw, it's now tomorrow. I ended up, so I again, not sure exactly remember what I filmed last. But I did have to grab another jack, and I put that on the crank pulley and jacked it up quite a bit. So I'm not sure if that's safe to do or not, but my clutch fan is now above the shrouding, and probably can't tell on camera, but that motor is incredibly tipped back. And I only did this because I started doing it incorrectly at first. So the transmission, the transmission was loose anyway, but I was under the impression I didn't have to take off the pressure plate bolts to get to or to drop the transmission. So all I did was I ended up pushing the transmission back. Once I got the motor tipped, pushed the transmission back as far as I could to keep it level. Obviously I took the transmission, or the pressure plate bolts out. Those are sitting right there. And I went ahead and just took a flathead screwdriver, because my pressure plate was stuck on the flywheel. I took my the flathead screwdriver and a hammer and put it between the flywheel and the pressure plate and just kind of pried it around. Lowered the jack just enough to take pressure off the crank pulley to spin it as if I were taking the bolts out again. and then just used the screwdriver to pry it all the way around until I was able to get it loose on the dowels and get it back far enough to where it loosened up. I jacked the front of the engine back up, and then was just able to move my hand in between the pressure plate and the flywheel to get the flywheel completely, or the pressure plate off the flywheel and the dowels, and push the clutch back with it. So right here is my clutch, the old one. She is pretty worn. No wonder she was slipping. And I have my new pressure plate right here. Here's the old one. So, not exactly the cleanest. We do have a little bit of a lip there. So she is pretty worn. I haven't looked at the flywheel yet. I need to do that. There's plenty of videos of other people doing this, but I already have the new throwout bearing on. I just have to set it on top of this, and then I'm gonna, when I set the camera down, flip this onto here and put my stack of rings back on it. And I'll go into this groove right here, and then slowly start putting everything back together. So I'm going to try to document that process as best I can, but there's a little update for you. I'm going to go ahead and reattach the throwout bearing to the pressure plate and get it reassembled and ready to go back in the transmission. I'm going to try to have this shit done today because I'm tired of dragging it out. I started this Friday and today's Wednesday. So I've almost been at it for a week, a business week, almost been at it for a business week, and frankly, I'm tired of it. This has been a complete nightmare. I took some other things off the car that I may not have needed to, but I went ahead and did it anyway. I demounted my charcoal canister. It's just 2 bolts, or the one really, to lay it on its side. The one hose for it is sticking right here. I went ahead and just, because I needed to get better access to that transmission bolt, and I also took out and unbolted my O2 sensor from the downpipe. Thank God I don't have the factory downpipe in here anymore. That would have been a huge headache, having to fight that stupid cat that was mounted to it right there behind it. That has made this whole process so much easier. It's prevented me from having to remove that whole piece of the exhaust altogether, because I guarantee you, if I would have still had that factory downpipe in here, I would have just unbolted it from the turbo and just said fuck it. So that's where we're at here. I need to get this wrapped up as quick as possible to try to throw the transmission back in the car, because I really don't feel good about this being tipped back this far. It's got me uneasy. I don't want to break any lines. It's a 35-plus-year-old car. I really don't want to cause any more headaches for myself than what I've already given myself. So we're going to keep going at it, and I will catch back up with you guys very shortly. Okay, so it is now Thursday. I didn't actually get a whole lot accomplished yesterday, so the only things that I have done since the last clip that you saw was I used the jack and balanced the transmission and had to guide it. So I used both hands to guide the transmission back up into place, and then used my foot out here to hold the jack handle and jack the transmission back up to where I needed it, and I was actually able to get it back almost fully bolted to the engine. So I have all but let's see, 1, 2, I think I have all but 2 bolts left that are at least hand tight left to put in. I have the driver's side trans bolt, which is right back. Don't want to let that fall. Which is basically right straight down from this side of the intake manifold. I also don't have the other starter bolt, the top one, in yet. I'm going to try to get both of those in today, and then I have started putting the flywheel bolts back in. I got 3 of them. Since I wasn't able to get, probably not gonna be able to see this, but I was not able to get the flywheel and the clutch, or the new pressure plate, bolted, so I don't know if you can see that, but there is a gap there. What I think I'm gonna do, I do have, it's on the dowels, partially. It's at least been, all 3 have been started, so what I'm gonna do is slowly just put all 6 bolts in, and then I'll just have to keep rotating it to work it on there, and then once I get it tight, then I'll star pattern tighten it down. So that alone is gonna take some time, and then I can start, once I get all that done, I'll let the jack go. There's a clip up here that I have to take off for the speed sensor that's on the other side that wraps across the top of the transmission. That just has a little clip. Once that is in, and once this is done, then too, I can put my clutch fork back in, and I should be done with that. I could put my slave back in, close the windows up, and re-get this bolted back in, and then from there it's just drive shaft, exhaust, and then nut and bolt the whole thing to make sure it's good to go, and we'll be done. So I'm gonna work on all that shit, and I will check back in with you guys here very shortly. I'm gonna do just a little, try to make a little bit of progress here, and keep this thing rolling. So it's Thursday. I got today, and I'd like to be done before the end of the day tomorrow, so that way I can say I did my clutch in under a week. So shooting for a goal, gonna try to make it happen. Check back in with you guys here shortly. I just want to make a quick clip for you guys. So I've been pretty busy. You're probably not gonna be able to see it, but I do have that bolt tightened. The starter is tightened back up. Those 2 bolts and nuts were hard as fuck to get back on there, especially the top one. That one was the biggest pain in the butt, but I did get it. I got the top bolt started, or at least threaded through the hole, and then was able to find the other hole just by feel. With the top of the starter and get that realigned. I was also able to get the top driver's side transmission bolt slid through, and at least just barely started with my fingers, and then was just able to find it with the socket, which was sitting right here. So it's a 2-foot, it's a 1-foot, and then I think that's a 6-inch. So that was what I used with a 14 mil. Also, one of my starter bolts was a 15, not a 14, so I had to make sure I put those back in the right place. Let's see, what else have I done? The pressure plate, the 6 bolts on the pressure plate are tightened up. I got those torqued. The top 2 transmission bolts are torqued. I'm just doing mine here to, I think it's 29 foot-pounds. So just a hair under 30 is what I'm doing with that. So, and that is a very useful tool because my grandpa got me this wrench a while back, and he is no longer with us, so I am very glad I'm able to have that, because he was one of those grandpas that always just gifted me tools whenever birthday, Christmas, whatever came around. So that wrench actually comes in very handy now that I'm actually able to use it on something like this. So gotta thank my grandpa for that. Let's see what else. That's done. Clutch is done. I'm going to go through real quick and do a torque test on all the bolts for the transmission. All the bell housing bolts anyway. And double check all of those. Make sure those are all tight. Torque them the way they need to be. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to do, so the nut and bolt check there. Next we can start putting the trans mount bracket, which is sitting over there on the floor. We can start putting that back and get it up into place. And then what I think I might do though is put my drive shaft back in and then lift, if I remember correctly, to get that out in one piece. To get that out in one piece, I had already started to drop the transmission a bit to give me a bit more space. So I'm just going to do the reverse process of that. So I'll put that back into there, hoist the transmission up with the jack, put the trans mount back on, and then tighten, or at least start to thread those two bolts on that. And then from there, hopefully, then we'll just change fluids in the diff. We can drain the fluids out of it and refill that with the 7590 that I have sitting over here on a workbench. And then once that's all together, we'll put fluids back in the transmission. It's 3.2 quarts from what I have heard. All right, so everything is back together. I am done. The trans is all filled. I put MT90 in it. And you're not going to be able to see this, but I'm currently draining my diff fluid. And it does not smell the greatest. It's definitely dirty. But I cannot get this fill bolt off. So until I can get that off, I'm kind of stuck in the water. And I guess I'm just going to keep letting that drip, get as much of that old fluid out of there as I possibly can. And I think it's a 24, but we might have to find another socket to see what else works, because that's not budging it. I don't know if that sucker was impacted on there before or what, but it's definitely not doing the trick now. Stay tuned. All right, so that is it. Supra is back on the ground. Got the negative terminal reconnected. Got my lights back on. Jack stands have been removed. We have lights again. I gotta reset that up, but whole center console here is all reconnected. The only thing I have left to do is to start the bitch and see if I can drive it down the ramps under its own power with the new clutch. I just gotta be probably really careful with it.